So John invited his mother over for dinner. And during the course of the meal, his mother couldn't help but notice how John and his roommate Julie looked at each other. She had long been suspicious of a relationship between the two, and this only made her more curious. By the end of the evening, she was convinced there was more between them than met the eye. So reading his mom's thoughts, John volunteered. "Mom, I know what you must be thinking, but I assure you, Julie and I are just roommates." So about a week later, Julie went to John saying, ever since your mother came to dinner, I've been unable to find the silver gravy ladle. You don't suppose she took it, do you? John said, "Well, I doubt it, but I'll email her just to be sure." So he sat down and wrote his mom an email saying, "Dear Mom, I'm not saying that you did take the gravy ladle from my house. I'm not saying that you did not take the gravy ladle, but the fact remains that one has been missing ever since you were here for dinner. Love, your son, John." The next day, John received a response from his mother that read, "Dear son, I'm not saying that you are romantically involved with Julie, and I'm not saying that you are not romantically involved with Julie, but the fact remains that if she were sleeping where she was supposed to be sleeping, she would have found the gravy ladle by now. Love, Mom." Moms, you can't pull anything over on a mom. I have been waiting to tell that joke. I was so excited to tell that joke. So, happy Mom's Day. And so today we are celebrating those of you that have given birth to a child, those of you that have adopted a child, those of you that have mentored a child, those of you that are men that are also in the role of moms, those of you that have pets that are the love of your life. So if you are that, would you please stand? And we just give you a hand. Please give a hand to these beautiful souls. Yeah, stand if you can. Okay, great. Okay, now you can be seated. Wow. So bless you and thank you. Thank you so much for the gift that you are in this world. So today, for those of you that are not aware, we have engaged in a 5-week series in May called Metaphysical Masters. And what we're highlighting are the women of New Thought that have really forged the path in our awareness of metaphysical teachings and just have been a model and have really been spiritual mothers. So today I'm talking about spiritual motherhood. And how is that different from mothers, as we all have experienced a mom, biological, someone that has given us birth. For me, a spiritual mom is someone that has given birth to our spirit. That might be your birth mom. It might not be your birth mom. But a spiritual mother is someone who has seen you, who has heard you, who has stood with you and for you, even in the midst of your possible resistance. I know none of us are that, are we, on the spiritual journey? Those spiritual moms are the people that have loved us no matter what, seen us no matter what. And when it is time to launch us, they let us go with blessings. They see us soaring high. So I'm celebrating spiritual mothers today, and what I know is that many of you are that. And so it's based on the foundation of divine motherhood, and I wanted to share what that means metaphysically. Divine motherhood is the nourishing element of divine mind, or God, in which spiritual ideals are brought to fruition. Spiritual ideals are brought to fruition. Guess what? Each of you is a spiritual ideal. Each of you is a divine idea that has come into physical form to be all you're here to be. And so today, the spiritual mother and our series of female metaphysical masters that I am calling forth into our awareness and understanding today at a deeper level is the mother of unity, Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore co-founded Unity with her husband, Charles Fillmore. Its official co-founding date is 1889. And many of you might be familiar with Myrtle's story, but I'm going to briefly highlight how she got to be in the position to co-found Unity. So, Myrtle was born in 1854. And she was always labeled in her family very frail and sickly. And so she started to believe that. And so she and Charles got married. And then in 1888, she was officially diagnosed with tuberculosis. And during that time, that was a death sentence. She went everywhere. She went to every doctor. They exhausted everything. And she heard of this lecture that was happening where a metaphysician was coming to town named E.B. Weeks. And she goes, what have I got to lose? So she goes to this lecture, and the sentence that jumped out at her, that transformed her life was, I am a child of God, and I do not inherit sickness. I do not inherit sickness. And so what Myrtle did was she went into the quiet 2 hours a day for 2 years. And in that time, she asked the cells of her body to forgive her for the ways she had talked to them, for the ways she had held them as sickly, as weak. She praised the function of her body, every cell. She rejoiced at its healing. She rejoiced at the truth of her infinite wholeness. And in 2 years, she was healed. And so, word got out quickly. And so people started calling her and wanting to see her and wrote her letters. And so, these 2 books here, they are in our bookstore, Healing Letters and How to Let God Help You. These are compilations of Myrtle's words to other people. She would write to them. She was their spiritual mother, always, 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 always loving them, accepting them, never buying into their story, ever. And so, our Myrtle Fillmore taught us great things. And so I wanted to highlight some of the things that she taught us. She taught us to rejoice that the life and the substance of our bodies are a perfect pattern of divine life. That we are the very essence of God life and God's substance and God intelligence. There is no separation. She taught that our purpose in being here is to express and to become conscious of the true pattern of wholeness we are, and that we are truly divine. That there is one presence and one power of goodness, of life, of love, and of wholeness. And when we are believing in sickness, lack, or death as what is true, then we are giving power to that appearance instead of that one presence and power, which is all-powerful, all-knowing, and always present. It is what we are. And she advised us to accept our perfection, to wave aside our past mistakes, and any untrue suggestions given to us by others out of their ignorance of truth, and to focus our undivided attention on our inner pattern of perfection. She asked people who wrote her letters for help to consider whether or not they were worrying or fearing anything. And if they were, she always directed them here. She always directed people to look in their subconscious. What are you not aware of that you are believing that is at the root of your habits that no longer serve you? And Myrtle Fillmore taught us about prayer. I want you to know that if you're familiar with Silent Unity is our Unity's 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week prayer ministry, telephone prayer ministry. And so when people were writing to Myrtle and they were coming to see her, she would hold them in prayer. And what she was saying to them is, where are you directing your prayers? Are you directing your prayers to an outside God, a capricious God that may or may not grant them? She goes, oh, no. That's not the point of prayer. The point of prayer is to inform you, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your habits. She was another one of those butt kickers. And so what happened was the momentum started to build. And so in 1907, Charles got the idea, we need to add telephone technology to these prayer requests. And now, over 125 years, do the math, we have Silent Unity. And I want you to know I was trained and I worked at Silent Unity, and we are still using Myrtle's words. So I share a little bit about the Mother of Unity with you today, just so you can start to reflect on who you are as a spiritual mom. You know, her mission on this earth that she claimed was to support people in walking their spiritual journey, to hold knowing with them, to hold the truth of what they are with them. So you hear that? Not for them, with them. Because see, inside all of us, there's a knowing. We might not have accessed it yet. So she prayed with people. So my question to you today is, on this Mother's Day, who's been a spiritual mom to you? Who's been a spiritual mother to you? Who has taught you about the truth of what you are? Who has really seen you? Who has called you into a deeper understanding of spiritual truth? Who has that been for you? And so today, I just invite you to celebrate that person, if they're alive, to acknowledge them in person, if you can, or on the phone. And I always feel this little lump in my throat when I start to talk about mine, because I have a spiritual mom. And I think most of you know it's Eileen Gore. And I love her, and I sent her a text this morning saying, honey, I love you so much, because Eileen saw me in the midst of my belligerent, nah, don't love me, don't see me as whole. Yeah, she kept standing, and she kept calling me into the truth of what I was, regardless of all my resistance and all my conversations that said, well, yeah, you know what I mean, I think. So who's been a spiritual mom for you? And then, who is calling you to be a spiritual mom for them? Is there anyone in your life that you know could use a dose of spiritual motherhood? Is there someone in your life that is just asking you just to see them, to hold them in the truth of what they are? Because see, folks, I think that as we celebrate the spiritual moms that have nurtured us, nourished our spirits, called us up to be all that we are, we get to pay it forward. That's part, to me, of why we celebrate moms. We celebrate the legacy they have left in our hearts. And that legacy is ours to continue giving. So I just invite you in your own being this week and today to reflect who's been a spiritual mom to you and to love them up, thank them, and who is calling to be spiritually nurtured in your life. Because I guarantee you there's somebody in your office, in your family. It could just be someone that you do business with periodically. And all it might look like is, how are you today? You look beautiful. I see you. I love you. I hear you. I accept you. I bless you. I call you up to be all that you are. Yeah. So let's take a deep breath. And let's affirm the truth together. Today, I acknowledge and celebrate the spiritual mothers who have loved and nurtured me. I pay that gift forward by loving and nurturing another. All are blessed.